Man, with another reaction. I think I'm finna get a haircut right after this, but let's see what he talking about though. Chicago lyrics are really happening. I don't really do Chicago like that, but this was just new. And yeah,
Chicago is the birthplace of drill and has inspired a worldwide movement that has spread everywhere from Florida to even the UK. Drill rappers are known for rapping about real crimes they've committed and the deadly life in the streets. Here's a look at some wild Chicago drill lyrics that actually happened. He survived one to the head, but it fucked up his body. Lil Durk should have ducked. Lil Durk is one of the most popular rappers to come out of Chicago in the early 2010s. His career has had some ups and downs, but he's managed to build a solid fan base that has kept him relevant in the music industry for almost a decade. Even though Durk has changed his ways and moved out of Chicago to focus on his rap career full time, he's still a savage at heart and will occasionally drop a diss track against his enemies. His most recent diss, Should Have Ducked, was a bonus track off the rapper's most recent album, The Voice, where he takes shots at several members of the FBG crew. In this bar, Durk is throwing shots at rival rapper FBG Wooski, who the artist has been beefing with for years. Wooski is one of O-Block's most hated ops due to the number of bodies and disses he's dropped. This deadly beef eventually led to Wooski getting ambushed and shot in the head outside a funeral, which is what Durk was talking about in the bar. Wooski actually grew up in the Parkway Gardens houses, the housing project in the area locals have named O-Block. Even though his older brother, Big Mike, was a BD and the entire building was controlled by the gang, Wooski ended up joining the GDs after becoming cool with dudes from the St. Lawrence area like FBG Duck. Big Mike protected Wooski when he was growing up, but that could only last so long. Wooski was just too wild to be contained and was forced to leave the area after a BD from the set Wick City named Reezy was shot and killed. The shooting happened during a fight between Reezy and a group of dudes from the STL EBT set, including Wooski. Wooski was rumored to be the shooter in Reezy's death, even though he was only 12 or 13 at the time. After that, he couldn't stay on O-Block anymore. The STL EBT took him in, and he's been repping the set ever since. This beef would eventually get even deeper after Wooski allegedly killed an O-Block member named Platoon, and King Von retaliated by killing Wooski's cousin Modell. Around that time, Von and Wooski started going back and forth on Twitter, making their hatred for each other public. So it started an all-out war between the two sets. Their beef got even more intense after Von and Big Mike, Wooski's brother, both got charged with murder after killing a man named Malcolm Stuckey outside a house party. Stuckey had allegedly been mean-mugging Von, so the rapper went to recruit Big Mike as backup. When they confronted Stuckey outside the house party, they ended up opening fire, killing their target, and injuring the dudes he was with. Both Big Mike and Von were potentially facing up to 100 years in prison, and Mike decided to rap. He told police that Von was the one who fired the fatal shot and he was just there for protection. But at the last minute, Big Mike changed his mind and refused to testify. Either O-Block got to him while he was locked up and let him know that if he came back to the streets, he'd be a dead man, or he figured it out on his own. Either way, without Mike's testimony, the prosecutors didn't have much to go off. Von ended up beating the case, and Mike took the charge for the murder, getting sentenced to 28 years in prison. Check out our video on rappers that beat a murder case for more info on what happened.
That's crazy.
Even though Mike still took the fall for the crime, the fact that he even thought about snitching meant that he had to be disowned by O-Block and made the beef even more serious. Things continued to escalate after an O-Block member named HK was murdered outside the entrance to the Parkway Gardens houses. Wooski was rumored to be one of the shooters, which he confirmed on the diss track Computers Remix. On the track, the rapper takes credit for the killing of a bunch of BDs, including HK, and after that, O-Block was out for blood. They couldn't get to Wooski, so they went after one of his homies, Dusky the Man, who was shot and killed in the Washington Park neighborhood later that year. It was at Dusky the Man's funeral that O-Block would come close to getting revenge on one of Chirac's deadliest shooters. The beef was at a boiling point, and both gangs were out for blood. Von even warned Wooski that a surprise was coming over FaceTime on the night before the funeral. Right after the service, Wooski stepped out to smoke a cigarette, which is when his ops finally caught up to him. They sprayed up the front of the church, hitting Wooski in the head and injuring 5 other people. Wooski somehow survived the shooting, but suffered nerve damage and blood loss. So on Should Have Ducked, Durk is rapping about Wooski getting shot in the head and struggling with the effects, even though he survived. Durk was close to King Von and was also known to beef with Wooski and the rest of the FBG crew. The whole track is actually a diss against the late FBG Duck, who was shot and killed in an upscale shopping area of Chicago called the Gold Coast. Earlier on the track, Durk raps, I told my PO through the gate that I get high as f***. She asked me how high do I get? High as Duck. Duck was killed in August 2020 after dropping a diss track called Dead Bodies, where he disrespects dead members of O-Block. Next to Wooski, Duck was one of O-Block's most hated ops. Before his death, he and Durk have been exchanging diss tracks for years. But Durk isn't the only rapper that FBG Duck has thrown shots at. In this next bar, the rapper disses a dead op named 600 Waldo, who died the day after Dusky the Man was murdered. Waldo ain't get to finish his status, he was on the internet laughing, capping, then get caught without it. FBG Duck, Exposing Me remix. Waldo 600 was a member of the 600 set of the BDs. 600 is allied with O-Block in the war against the STL-EBT and MOB sets of the GDs. Waldo was shot and killed on East 63rd Street, a street that's considered the border between O-Block and 600, not far from the Parkway Gardens houses. He was killed on October 10, 2018, just a day after Drewski the Man was murdered, not far from the same spot. It's been rumored that Waldo was killed in retaliation for his murder, which probably added to the attack on Wooski. Waldo was allegedly there on the day Dusky was shot and killed. To make it even worse, rumors circulated that Waldo was dissing Dusky online, which led to immediate retaliation. Both men were well respected in their gangs, so the murders added even more attention to the already intense war that was raging on the streets of the South Side. In this bar, Duck is referencing the fact that Waldo got killed for dissing a dead op on the internet. When MOB caught Waldo lacking in enemy territory, it was all over. It's pretty wild how quick the revenge was for Dusky's death, but on the streets of Chicago, anything can happen in the blink of an eye. But Waldo isn't the only op Duck referenced in this song. In another verse, he raps, "Let off 23, then 7 more. That's how I come for bro. T-Roy ain't get shot inside his head, but he ain't make it though." The first line is about Duck's brother, FBG Brick. Brick was another member of the STL-EBT set who had been trying to follow in his brother's footsteps and become a rapper after being released from prison. Brick was shot and killed in the Woodlawn neighborhood of the South Side in July 2017, along with his cousin Kobe Mack. Rumor has it that Brick was posting videos on the internet taunting O-Block, so a group of BD goons pulled up to confront him. According to witnesses, they hit Kobe first and Brick had to turn and run. He went down an alley, but realized he was going in the wrong direction. At the end of the alley was a gate that he tried to hop, but got stuck halfway over. His killers caught him stuck on the fence and shot him in the back while he was trying to get to the other side. No one was ever arrested for the murders, but it is rumored to be a group of O-Block and 600 members, including HK. HK was—
Wait, hold on. Oh yeah. You don't know when that shit gonna hit you, bro. So you try to get over the fence, bro. You don't know when that shit gonna. You probably just looking back, trying to get the fuck. I can't do it. But
it is rumored to be a group of O-Block and 600 members, including HK. HK was one of the ops who was later killed by Wooski, but Brick's murder was likely part of the motive. The night after Brick was killed, FBG allegedly shot up O-Block. Within the FBG clique, each rapper has their own numbers. Duck claimed the number 03, and Brick was referred to as 30. So when he raps "Let off 23, then 7, he's making a play on words based on this code. 23 plus 7 equals 30, so he's got 30 rounds for O-Block to get revenge for his brother. In the next bar, he references a dead op named T-Roy, who was killed earlier the same year. T-Roy was a respected shooter from O-Block who was close to King Von, Chief Keef, and HK's youngest brother. Even though he was less than 5'3", T-Roy was a respected shooter with multiple alleged bodies.
HK's youngest
T-Roy
brother
was shot and killed on February 14, 2017 at just 23 years old. Rumor has it that he was out looking for an op named TB from Taekwon's World, another set of the GDs that's allied with STL-EBT. Troy accidentally wandered into a neighborhood known as Paxtown, an area controlled by the GDs. He was on the hunt for TB because he allegedly killed an O-Block member named Chino. While wandering around Paxtown, T-Roy was spotted by none other than FBG Brick. Brick then called up TB to alert him that T-Roy was out looking for blood. TB was then able to get the drop on T-Roy and shot him in the chest around the 2000 block of East 71st Street.
Brick, they beefing. Why did he have to call somebody else up for that to happen? Why he ain't do it himself?
To get the drop on T-Roy and shot him in the chest around the 2000 block of East 71st Street. The shooting was captured on Facebook Live by a woman who was in the car at the time he was shot. A 2-year-old child was also tragically killed in the shooting. T-Roy was a well-respected member of O-Block whose death was a major loss for the crew. After his murder, his brother HK really started turning up in the streets. Before that, HK was affiliated, but not known for having any bodies. After T-Roy's death, he had to step up and fill his brother's shoes and ended up being involved in multiple murders in less than a year. First, he was allegedly involved in the killing of Poppy from TW, who was also one of the alleged killers of Chino from O-Block, along with TB. T-Roy was shot while trying to get revenge for Chino's murder, so it seems like HK decided to finish the job. Poppy was working a 9-to-5 at a grocery store when he was caught by HK and another O-Block member named Duke. Duke was credited with the hit, but HK was allegedly with him. Next, HK went after FBG Brick for being the one who was responsible for alerting TB about his brother's location. HK was allegedly the one who chased Brick into the alley and fired the kill shot. Then, HK got his revenge by killing TB in September 2017. TB was chilling with a dude named Side from Jarrell City, another set of the GDs. HK found out their location from someone and went to confront them. Rumors have gone around that when HK pulled up, TB just laughed and said, "You finally got me." But this is unconfirmed, as he was killed right after from a gunshot wound to the head. Side was also shot in the head, but survived. But HK's reign of terror ended after getting his final revenge because only 2 months later, he was killed. On November 24th, 2017, HK was chilling in O Block with a dude named Famous from a BD set called Blackgate. They were walking toward one of the buildings when a car pulled up and FBG Wooski, along with 2 affiliates from Draw City and TW, jumped out. Famous managed to escape, but HK was shot in the legs and stomach, later dying from those injuries. Wooski rapped about the shooting on his diss track Computers. King Von was close with both T-Roy and HK, so their deaths intensified the beef between the STL EBT set and O Block. Their murders are a big part of what led up to Wooski getting shot outside Dooski the Man's funeral, bringing the whole beef full circle. The war between O Block and STL EBT continues to this day. Even though there's still plenty of violence going on in the South Side, all the major rappers who were associated with the early drill scene are either dead or too rich to still be putting in work on the streets. King Von and FBG Duck's tragic deaths in 2020 seem to have closed a chapter on the wild era for drill music, and the public attention has shifted to places like London and Jacksonville. Chirac will always be the birthplace of drill and one of the wildest hoods in America, but every rapper eventually has to choose whether they want to continue the endless cycle of violence or put the past behind them to focus on a legal music career. If you like this video, check out some of our previous videos.
Hey man, it's the end of that video. Y'all boys, tell me what y'all think, man, in the comments, man. Hit the like button, hit the sub button, man. I'm out, man. No cap.